George Orwell, a futurist. Eric Arthur Blake, under the pen name George Orwell, is one of the most famous authors of the 21st century. Born on the 25th of June, 1903 in British India, Orwell quickly moved back to England where he grew up and got his education. Orwell won scholarships to Wellington College and Eton College to continue his studies. Spending the rest of his life in England, he started a career as a novelist, essayist, journalist, and literary critic. He is most well known for his 1984 An Animal Farm. Orwell moved to Spain with his wife, where he joined the local militia to help fight Francisco Franco in the Spanish Civil War. Having witnessed war firsthand, he was given the taste of the horrendous conditions it created. During his time in Spain, he was influenced by the socialist school of thought that permitted Spain's Workers' Party. Orwell was raised in a climate of post and pre-war. This was a dystopic period in Britain's history which had an influence on the subject matter he wrote most about. There was a record-breaking cold winter during his lifetime, and he lived in England prior to the Clean Air Act. The country was filled with post-war destruction of World War I and was just coming out of the Great Depression. Orwell is quoted with having said, "Every line of serious work that I have written since 1936 has been written directly or indirectly against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism as I understand it." He feared totalitarianism and hoped to spread the knowledge of its potential dangers against a free society. Orwell actively participated in a myriad of different left-wing groups. One notable group was the New York intellectuals, who were primarily made up of writers. They discussed and published works on the subject matter of anti-Stalinism, Zionism, left-wing, and socialist ideals. From the New York intellectuals, Orwell moved on to writing for the Tribune, a left-wing journal, and eventually became its editor. In the Tribune, he discussed and critiqued other authors' essays, books, and miscellaneous writing. Along with commenting on other authors' work, he would frequently publish his own opinions on politics, literature, and language and culture. Because of his outspoken nature against communism, Orwell was approached by the British government to assist them in anti-communist propaganda. In 2003, a list of names he gave them was published. They were those he deemed to be communist sympathizers. After writing Animal Farm in 1943, a not-so-subtle critique of Soviet Russia, his publisher refused to print it because of England's newfound sympathy for their allies against Nazi Germany. The novella would have had negative implications on civil views of the publisher. Ending in the ultimate irony, George Orwell was essentially censored. Orwell was a pioneer of futuristic thought and the science of probability and predictability. In fact, the term futurism was coined in the 1940s, which was the height of Orwell's career and the time in which he published the most futuristic works. Orwell was closely influenced by and in contact with other futurist thinkers and writers of the time who still remain extremely well known to this day for their own futuristic dystopic worlds. He read many of H.G. Wells's works, and Huxley actually taught Orwell French and later sent him a letter praising 1984. Being a socialist, Orwell was an active participant in relating to Karl Marx's work. Marx could be considered a very early futurist, as his main bodies of work consisted of predicting the future of capitalism and its eventual failure. Orwell was considered involved with and influenced by other futurists. Because of the time period that he lived in, Orwell was very aware of the growing threat of totalitarianism from the East and its dystopic future implications. He witnessed the rise of the Soviet Union, and he was alive during the peak of Stalin's reign. Orwell had an interesting take and prediction of how technology would develop in the constantly changing and globalizing world. He incorporated these predictions into his novels, particularly 1984, that uses a myriad of different futuristic inventions. Probably the most notable piece of technology that he predicted was the telescreen. Orwell wrote about a screen that was in every person's house that both transmitted a constant string of propaganda and dictated morning stretching routines, and also constantly watched and listened to the room it was in. An invention like this today can be seen in modern-day North Korea, though not the same extent. Orwell was also predicted the rise in aviation technology, incorporating helicopter-like inventions that he thought police used to peer into people's windows and ensure everyone was acting as they should be. Within 1984, Orwell talked largely of the threat of censorship and the controlling of the past, present, and future medias. This is a large issue in modern day as technologies develop a new censorship technique are being created. Being extremely astute, Orwell was vastly correct in his predictions about the future. Readers constantly relate to the issues raised in the novel as there are a myriad of parallels between the current and projected world. Some parallels include the WikiLeaks debacle, revealing the NSA's actions, which were spying on citizens without their knowledge and spying on other countries. Another is the issue of the censorship of the WikiLeaks website in Florida. Finally, he predicted stopping the flow of ideas and manipulating them as we see in the current media, focusing on whistleblowing versus what they are revealed to be.